we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard. Sports Beat coming to you here on this Friday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you're having a great day and are ready for the weekend. Whether you are or not, it's here. But it's going to be a cool one. But there is a ton going on. Alec Lasley will be joining us, and we'll see what all we can get going today. Verdell, see if we can get him on later. He's running late today, had something behind. But there is a ton happening. You've got this All-Star game, which up at, I think it's Lawrence North, which is pretty cool. Half of the All-Star team is in that. You've got that going on, but also Rivals, the national top 150 camp, tons of 5-stars. They're at Ben Davis High School. And that's going on. Unfortunately for me, I've got other things going on 3 hours southwest of there, all during the same time. So that's going to be a nice back and forth. So we've got that going on for us, which is nice. But how's your day going? What's up next? Make sure you hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Speaking of which, thanks a lot to Andy Moore Honda, of course. You're looking for a vehicle, make sure you get out there and check that out in Bloomington. Andy Moore's leading Honda dealer in Bloomington, as well as if you're looking for a home, Cheryl Sizemore from Indy Home Pros, Remax Realty, got you covered. We'll get you all that information as well. But it is the summertime is starting to arrive with all the activity that is going on. I haven't even talked about baseball and stuff like that, but how about soccer and men's soccer last night? That was a win, an exciting one for the Hoosiers as they move on in the NCAA tournament. When I looked at first, they were down 1-0. That's a 63-minute mark or so into the second half, which would put them deep into the third quarter if we were doing football, American football. And Indiana comes back, ties it, takes the lead, and gets that win. But that's a big win for Indiana. Of course, any win right now is a big win in the tournament. You're in the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't the normal characters. Roman Salentano, of course, he gave another great performance, man. That dude is just an All-American. But redshirt sophomore Ryan Wittenbrink made an immediate impact when he came in, and he also predicted a score. But Herbert Endeley he got the first goal for Indiana, tying the score. Then it was redshirt junior Joe Schmidt who also scored. I think there was an assist from Victor Brazzera. That's 10 straight matches he scored in, I think. But IU has now made the NCAA quarterfinals for the fourth time under Coach Todd Yeagley. Each of the previous 3 times ended in runs to the College Cup, which is the Final Four, and the national championship game, including a 2012 title. So Brazzera's assist to Italy means he has now recorded at least a point in 10 straight matches, like I said, and 12 of 13 this season. That's pretty daggone good. See what's up next for Indiana. They advanced to the quarterfinals against the winner of number 6 Seton Hall, which is, man, they are a really good program, and Virginia Tech. The match will be played at 5 o'clock on Monday, May 10th. So there you go. Indiana does not play it again until next Monday. But move that. I guess it's on to the College Cup. Hello, everybody. Hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Dwayne and Forrest Allen hitting it early. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's having a good day. Soccer team's off to a good start. I know that baseball also will be in action this weekend as well. All kinds of stuff going on, man, but too much to keep track of. I hope you're having a great day. What are your plans for the weekend? And as we wait for Riddell and Alec to join us later, John, what was it I asked you? I just asked you about something. I'm not talking about Coach Yeagley, but you're probably busy working on that. But you can just keep doing that. If you're into pro basketball, of course, the Pacers, that's pretty much over their season. Where are they going to end up? I guess that the play-in is the there's the Bo Borowski thing that our good friend Bob Kravitz talked about. That's out. Looking at that. Living in a snow globe. Final Four referee Bo Borowski's diary details the NCAA tournament on The Athletic for Bob Kravitz. So if you got a chance to read that, I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking at it right now. So that would be very interesting to see what comes out of that. And talking to Bob about that next week. But you can imagine getting to do something that you've always wanted to do if it was the first time for some of those guys, but having to do it that way. But it was the same for everyone in tons of different ways, whether were a participant, a fan, it didn't matter. How are you? There was something else. The NCAA, Muppet Mark Emmert. Oh my goodness. John Blau from the Herald, he had this out on Twitter, that as the NCAA waits on allowing student athletes the name, image, likeness rights, here is an example that is still a violation per a report from Indiana, from IU. In December, an IU basketball player put out some sheet music as a tribute to a deceased family member. The album artwork had images of him playing basketball. Who cares? You're right. Big deal, right? All this stuff's going on. And this is the report. A men's basketball student athlete used his name, image, and likeness contrary to the promotional activities legislation and the institution's men's basketball strength and conditioning coach subsequently promoted the activity on social media. Specifically, the student athlete published several songs on Apple Spotify as a tribute to a family member who had passed away and used images related to his participation in basketball as an album artwork. The institution men's basketball strength and conditioning coach subsequently promoted the students on social media. After the Office of Compliance was notified of the music, the Office of Compliance Services received an approved legislative relief waiver for the student athlete to continue making music on Apple Spotify. We're wasting time with that stuff now, still. Muppet Mark, that's why it's nuts. But frauds, Muppets, cheaters. There you go, exactly. I think that was related to somebody else. But, you would think that they would just the NCAA would try to quickly. No, that's okay. That's okay. Let's boom. Nope. They I think they relish in their ineptitude. How else could you? What else is going on? Hit us up on the Endmore hotline. Jennifer says she is tired of the Pacers games being televised over the St. Louis Cardinals games down in Evansville. The Pacers are awful. Well, I understand. But the season's still going. They can't stop showing them because they're awful. That's called a fair weather fan. You got to stick to them, man. And baseball's just starting. You got all season to watch Cardinals. But I understand. At least you get to watch the Pacers. A lot of people are not getting to, which some would say that's okay right now. But no. But yeah, it's I can't. My system does not have it. We've talked about that a lot with Chris Tadari when he's been on. It's ridiculous. But there it is. But see, that's got to help the Pacers though with their draft picks that they end up with. So see how that ends up for them. Sparking of the Indiana Hoosiers. I mentioned the baseball continues this weekend. Who are they hosting this week? I need Trevor back on here. Was not expecting Vernell not to be on with us today. and he's not on at the moment. Trying to get him in here. But the baseball program, they're now in first place. It was just, I think, 2 weeks ago, they were in fourth. They are surging to try to make the NCAA tournament. That would be great. Can you imagine? You get the soccer team in, you get the baseball team in. Football team's ranked in the top 11 right now. That would be amazing stuff. So, can the baseball team get in? That's the thing. They've got a dual meet of sorts in a 3-team pod coming up this weekend, which is very important. They took the series versus Iowa last weekend, which put them in first place. There's Alec Lasley. I was going to say, did I blow through a break? Man, like, I was scared. Never on time. I was just talking about Indiana baseball, but we can always get back to that. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm back in Bloomington for the weekend, so I'm actually on campus right now.
Well, show us something. Take us. Be a good cameraman. Is there anything worth looking at? Where are you?
Right by the Herman Wells statue.
Oh, I thought you were going to say what's that building is named after him?
With the
I'm kidding. It's the library.
Yeah.
I was like driving by just looking down, like going, "Hey, what's that building?" I'm joking. Yes, I see.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out, obviously, for graduation, so a lot of pictures.
It is a gigantic weekend. Yeah, graduation weekend. People everywhere, in from out of town. So tons of stuff going on. Are you graduating? I'm kidding.
No. That was good.
That was a while back, luckily for you.
Yeah, that was a good 4 years, but definitely glad I'm not still in school.
Yeah, we could have had you go to Yogi's and just do it from there.
Yeah, we were actually going to try to go there last night, but obviously it was pretty packed everywhere. So it's definitely good to be back though. I haven't been back in a few years, so down here for my girlfriend's sister's graduation. So that's
girlfriends, sisters,
Yep.
Brothers. Yeah, cool. Yeah, this weekend there's still a little bit of basketball going on. We have got the All-Star game that's happening, which is actually kind of a cool deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think a lot of people missed out on having that and any sort of Indiana All-Star basketball event last year, obviously with COVID. So it'll be good to kind of have the senior class this year get some recognition for not only this past year for all their hard work, but obviously the 4 years in high school that they put into it. And it's obviously a loaded field. It's always a loaded field, but I think this year it's even more so just with all the talent in this class and around the state.
We'll talk a little bit more about it when we come back, but Trevor Mullen, another name on the recruiting trail. Mr. Bond from Jordan Hulls, JH1 name popping up. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. Alec Lasley joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or Verdell's not on today.
He's not coming on at all?
No, he couldn't. Something came up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to get to a quieter place.
You're fine.
On campus before I signed on here.
It's quiet. Your sound is fine.
Okay, good. They're doing obviously always doing some sort of construction work with some of the buildings and stuff like that.
Is it right out front of where Starbucks is and Buffalo is? Because that's where they're always working.
Yeah, it's literally right past the sample gates.
It's like always. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, well, they're doing some work on the other side of town, but let's put the equipment right here.
Yeah, exactly. It's where everyone spends the most time and they feel the need to have the most construction going on.
That's where it should be blocked. Yeah, let's block that off. So what is your I got some stuff to give you.
Oh yeah. Are you this is just a quick trip for me. So I don't know, are you coming down here at all this weekend? I assume not, since it's pretty
Man, I'm
pretty
down there
crazy.
every day. Seriously.
It's
I-
yeah.
I'll be down there earlier today than normal, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down there by like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'll be around most of the day. Not doing too much until
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to run over to the basketball office and see if JD's in,
Oh yeah.
just to say, hey, man, because introduce you.
Yeah, he was one of my professors my junior year, I think. Sophomore year, one of the two.
Does he remember you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you don't need introduced.
There were a lot of basketball players in most of the classes that he taught though too. So he was more, I think, focused on them and making sure that they were actually doing all their stuff.
Coming back.
Gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Alec Lasley joining me live from the campus of Indiana University. Lots going on. Graduation weekend. See, we've already missed little 5. That kind of just went with a whimper. But this will be the busiest weekend Bloomington has seen in a year.
Yeah, probably since
longer.
Yeah,
longer
since last,
in
than 20
football season.
Yeah,
football season.
Yeah, true. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, usually you don't go that long with Bloomington being that quiet. So it's good that a lot of people are back in and around town and doing all the fun things that Bloomington has to offer.
Something that's not quiet ever, recruiting, and that continues to roll out. A couple of new names bouncing around, not new to everyone, but Mr. Mullen, Travell Mullen. Is it Travell?
Oh, for the football side of things?
Oh, that's football. My bad. Pull that up. But I haven't opened it up yet. Yeah, he is on the football side. Didn't see that.
Yeah, but one of the I guess not so much new names, but I guess you could classify it as newer, just because most people probably haven't spent too much time knowing about Leon Bond. Plays for Jordan Hull's AAU program out of Wisconsin. Super talented wing, kind of that 6'5", 6'6" athletic type of wing that Mike Woodson's kind of going after with that new regime. He was in contact with the Indiana staff ever since last summer, mainly Mike Roberts. Obviously, Mike Roberts off to Cincinnati now, so he has not been able to get in touch with the new Indiana staff, but that's going to change. He told me that they're expected to speak here in the next few weeks, and he's someone that's kind of shooting up recruiting boards.
He was not able to get in touch with the staff?
They haven't spoke yet since the new staff took over.
Seems odd to me. That seems like, not to interrupt you, but if you have a recruiting, I would think that would be the first thing, is to maintain every relationship.
Well, yeah, but again, you have to look at the main, I guess, first 3 weeks for Mike Woodson and that staff was not only putting together a full staff, but also being able to retain all the players and all the roster movement that they had for this year. So that's where a lot of the focus was on. And then since he doesn't hold an Indiana offer right now, that's probably the main reason why he was still kind of, I guess, in that second sort of group of prospects in the 2022 class of players that going into the summer that they were going to be monitoring and talking to a lot more than some of these other guys that do currently have offers. But he's someone that he has Power 5 offers from Marquette and Virginia Tech as of right now. But he's someone that's been blowing up since a couple of events last summer that he was able to play and won a state title this year up in Wisconsin. And he's already shown in the couple events this spring going up against some of the top talent around the country here in the Midwest that he's not only holding his own, but he's definitely one of the better, more athletic wings that they have in the 2022 class. So I think you're going to see a big jump from him moving forward. And I think Indiana is going to eventually be jumping in the race as well. He's just too talented to not do that with someone who does like Indiana and what it has to offer.
And roster management wise, we continue to talk about that is a piece that's yet to be needed, another wing, but still the big man is the big piece that is actually needed, and still kind of the big question mark right there.
Yeah, I think that's the only piece to the puzzle that Indiana is still trying to kind of navigate through and figure out. I don't necessarily think it's a huge need for this year, just due to everything that they do have coming back with Logan Duncombe coming in, Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis. You're still going to see more of those small ball 4 players that they're going to play a lot more this year than they did, obviously, throughout Archie Miller's tenure. That's one, just how the NBA style of play is going. Obviously, with Mike Woodson, that's what he wants to bring to Indiana, is that NBA tempo, NBA style of play, and kind of positionless basketball. And that's why you're seeing a lot of different interchangeable players where you're not going to specifically be tied down to a position or a spot on the floor, and you need to bring more than just one or two things that you can do well. He's looking for guys who can do a lot and spread out the floor in multiple different ways. So I think if you do see any sort of addition to the front court, it's probably not going to be for this year. It'll be more so for the 2022 class, and they'll probably load up on some bigger players then, just because they will be losing a lot in the front court going into that class. But I just, with the current roster, obviously all the scholarships are full as of right now. That doesn't mean the staff is going to stop recruiting, but they're always going to look for making sure that they can make the roster as good as possible. I just don't see that as a big need for a big man right now.
The Big Ten is going to look different next year. We still don't know exactly how different that's going to be. Franz Wagner, he's going to enter the draft, sign with an agent. You've also got a lot of other moves. CJ Fredericks is out of Iowa. He's in Kentucky. Things are going to change, and probably to Indiana's advantage, but also to other teams' advantage. That's going to probably help Purdue. It's going to help some other teams. Michigan, I don't know what they're going to be like. What's it looking like right now? What pieces? What's the puzzle looking like right now?
Yeah, I think based off of what Indiana's been able to do this offseason so far, and it's only been basically 2 months of the offseason, I think you look at Indiana, and the expectations have to be that not only do they finish, in the top 5, but they're there for most of the season, and they can kind of push themselves up the ladder with all the experience that they have, the talent that they have. It will take some time to get all those pieces to gel. So the expectations do need to be lowered at the start of the season, just due to all the new faces, the new coaching, and the new system that's going to be put in place. But outside of Indiana, I think you look at Michigan's reloading. They still have a lot of good talent. Eli Brooks is coming back for a 5th year senior wise. You have Hunter Dickinson still coming back. And then you still have very, very talented. I think they have 5 incoming players in their 2021 recruiting class, and all of them are ranked in the top 100, I believe. I think one is ranked in the top 150 for the Rivals rankings. But Purdue is going to be right up there. I think Ohio State's still going to be very, very good next year as well. They still have some really talented pieces on that roster, even though they did lose a lot. I think you're going to look at Iowa and Michigan State. I think in my mind are the 2 teams that may take the biggest step down. There's just a lot of question marks still around kind of what that Michigan State roster is going to fully look like. You lost, obviously, Josh Langford He did not decide to come back for I think what would have been a 7th year for him with the couple red shirts that he's had. Iowa obviously loses a lot. They get Jordan Bohannon back, but lose obviously Luca Garza, Frederick, and Oiskamp for now. We'll see if he decides to come back and not continue with his NBA draft potential. But I think overall the Big Ten is going to be a lot different than the past few years for the better. And I think Indiana is going to be a main reason for that.
Also for Indiana, they announced the addition of Mike Stump as team recruitment analyst, kind of replacing Brian Walsh, I guess. No, I'm trying to. There was so many names they moved. Thad Matta's new position. They gave Mike Roberts a position under him, which I think they created just to be nice to Mike Roberts. Does that position stay or does that go away?
I would think it goes away. I don't see a real need for that. I
think it was just strictly created to not look bad until he got another job.
Yeah, exactly. And just due to all the connections that he still had with recruits, it was good to keep him for as long as they could. But yeah, Mike Stump, I think this is a pretty much a new position again that they're kind of creating. They've created a bunch of different in new positions this year because you look at kind of how they're putting together the staff for Mike Woodson, and it definitely looks like an NBA organization from top to bottom, how they're putting together kind of that GM role for Thad Matta, kind of that owner role for Scott Dolson, as you look at it that way, and then just surround him with a lot of basketball minds, a lot of people who know the game, and a lot of people who are well-versed in different areas. And I think that's what you get with Stump, being able to kind of see the game as it in terms of developing players, both on and off the court. And I think that's a new position that Indiana didn't have. Brian Walsh is still there too. So I think those roles could be a little bit interchangeable at times. But again, that he's still going to bring, I think, a good piece to the puzzle just because he has been around at least the G League for a few years now that a lot of college programs don't have. So now you have NBA, G League, and obviously a lot of guys who are well-versed in the college world. So I think you pretty much check off all the boxes that you're looking for from a coaching staff.
Yeah, these guys are – when it comes to recruiting now, we talk about recruiting so much, but, man, you have to have eyes out there, feet on the ground, and that's what these guys do. The coaches in no way, shape, or form have the time to do this is grassroots stuff here, man. They're scouring the boards and going to camps or whatever they do, but they've got to scour and find and look and tape, tons of tape, watching film on guys. These guys, they got to weed through helping these guys find this talent. And I think that's something Indiana's been lacking. They didn't have that before. It was just kind of a couple sets of eyes. I think there may have been 4 sets of eyes that mattered, and that was it. Now there's like 12, maybe even more than that. And it is branched out so much farther, and the net is so much larger. And obviously you catch a lot more fish that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing about this staff, just from a recruiting standpoint, is not only do they have the Midwest covered, they have the Northeast covered. They have kind of that whole East Coast as well. They have parts of the South and still parts of kind of that the Plains area. So you look at what they've been able to do. Just from that standpoint, they have a lot of the Plains and over covered, which is incredible from basically three main recruiters, and then you bring in Mike Woodson's resume, and you'll be able to get anyone I think that you want as long as you put in the time, just because of his ability to not only develop players at the highest level, but who doesn't want to go play for a coach who not only played at the highest level, but also coached at the highest level and knows what it takes to get there, and now have all the tools that you need from a staff around him to help you not only develop in college, but then to really hone in on what you're not doing well. And I think we saw that with what Mike Woodson did with Trace Jackson Davis, and was a big reason that he decided to come back. Is he now knows exactly what he needs to do to work on and kind of get better in order to get to the next level. And I think with Archie Miller and that staff, I don't think they necessarily focused their entire offseason on all the little things that needed to get done for each individual player in order to take that next step in their development. And if they did, it obviously there was some sort of miscommunication between everyone, because you just didn't see those jumps that I think you're going to end up seeing with Mike Woodson, just because they didn't have the same resume up to this point.
For those of you who can't see it, if you're listening on radio, you can't see the smirk on my face. So I'll just you see, just pretend you're looking at an emoji with that smirk. Yeah, that's me right now. Yeah, we'll just.
We know how you feel on that one.
Apparently everybody does. I found out, but yeah, it's getting back to everybody's all in a Twitter about this big man. Dude, go back to the 1987 national championship team. And I know no, I don't care when it was. That did not, teams were big then. They were actually probably bigger in the 80s. I mean, there was a lot of height, man. And he had that team, who was big on there besides Dean Garrett? 6'7", Darryl Thomas. And hell, he was your starter. He was your center the year before, I think. So this is about you don't have to have all this height. They've just been lacking. There's been no motion, no movement, no. There's so many no's that you can't do anything. But now that's not going to be a problem. So you just have to have the athletes, the players, the shooters. They don't have to be 6'10". Of course, if you got a guy that's 6'10" that can shoot from 3, that's not going to hurt. But that doesn't have to be the case, man. A great 6'7" wing, if he's athletic enough, you're fine. And they have not had the players to overcome the ineptness. It's just a simple recipe. I mean, if you don't have quality offense and all of that, you have to have elite players. Well, they didn't have elite players doing elite things. So there's no way that can succeed. That's not going to be the case now. You're going to have both, actually. And the elite players are going to be there sooner rather than later, because some of them are already there now.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you kind of touched on it there, but the main difference between last year and this year, obviously last year you didn't have any height, you didn't have really any size, but you also didn't have the versatility and the skill set that you need if you don't have the height, right? Because Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis didn't have the skill set to step out to 15, 17 feet and knock down any sort of mid-range or outside shot. And so that really put Indiana in a lot of trouble, especially when you only have your two starting front court guys, and basically your only two front court guys that are 6'8", 6'9". If they're not going to be able to stretch the floor, they need to be able to not only rebound the ball at a high level, finish at a high level, which at times we saw that front court not able to finish at a high level. This year, obviously you have the same group of guys in that front court coming back with Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson, but you're most likely going to see them play a different kind of style than they were last year in terms of those two front court guys, where I don't think you're always going to see those two on the floor at the same time. And I think that's not only going to benefit them, because even if they do decide to stay in the paint, it's only them, right? And there's going to be a lot more floor spacing with even if it's Jerome Hunter, Miller Kopp, any of these other guards that are going to stretch the floor, extend the defense, and make life a lot easier for any sort of front court player for Indiana if they do hang around the paint.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Big Ten next year. Like I said, it's going to be a different look. You cannot ignore Purdue and what Matt Painter has done with that roster. There's a lot of youth there. That they've taken a lot of guys, so that tells me they lost a lot. I haven't paid attention to them, but I'm like, oh man, They offered all. It's like 5 or 6 guys coming in. That's a pretty big class, which means you're going to be pretty young.
Yeah, and they were already pretty young last year too. So they're gonna be young. They're gonna stay young. But I think you saw, especially with Jaden Ivey and Brandon Newman, those 2 guys are pretty much going to be the backbone of that team moving forward. In my mind, you throw in obviously some of the other younger players who are coming in with this class with Trey Kaufman, Caleb First as well in the front court, and you're going to have a really inexperienced team, but you're going to have a really talented team, and so I think you're going to see Purdue start out a little bit rough, but I think as the season turns, kind of gets into the second half of the season, once Big Ten play starts, towards the end of Big Ten play, you're going to see the Purdue team that no matter who they have on the roster always ends up, the top 4, 5, 6 in the Big Ten and always finds a spot in the NCAA tournament.
And something else, teams will actually have to prepare for Indiana next year. They didn't have to last year. They just took the notes from the game from the team that played them the game before and handed it down, and then they handed it to the next team and the next team. It was nothing ever changed. So that'll be different and unique to see that way out. I'm looking forward to see recruiting wise. Michigan State has made a living off of having one guy, but always an important guy from that northern Indiana area. It's always the right mix, whether it's Aaron Henry or whomever it's been over these years. They've always got. You can go all the way back to Scott Skiles, man. Always got a guy, a good one too. And so I'm not saying that's going to end because there's only so many spots on a roster. But Dane Fife is going to do some ending to that. I think Jaden Washington is a litmus test for Mike Woodson right off the bat.
Yeah.
Does Purdue have any room left? I mean, they've taken I don't keep up with there, but how much room does Purdue have left? Good gosh.
They'll have some room for 2022.
But you would make room for Jaden Washington.
Yeah, I think anyone's going to make room for him. He's that talented.
So, and I know earlier it probably would have been between Indiana and Purdue, but now that's no longer the case. I think that this has turned into more of a Keon Brooks type of Romeo Langford type of recruitment with North Carolina stepping in and whatnot. But I think this is a litmus test for Mike Woodson right off the bat. Elite talent from the north part of the state. Can you get him?
Yep, it'll be interesting, and I think it'll be one that stretches for a long period of time. This is not going to be a quick recruitment by any means. So I think it benefits Indiana even more because they don't need to rush to get their foot in the door with this new staff. So that's the one positive for IU, because this one will take a long time to narrow down to a couple schools for him.
Well, you say that. Does that mean he's going to take his recruiting up till he graduates?
I think it's one that you're going to see a lot of these national type recruitments that do last a little bit longer, especially with him. At this stage, missing basically 2 high school seasons, not having a AAU season last year, you're going to see him develop his game even more over the course of this summer. So I think this is one that's going to last at least, I would think, until maybe January, February of his senior year.
I'm bowing in honor of the chimes in the background as Alec coming to us from the monastery. Jaden Washington is not only that, but his besides North Carolina, who's other major offers that he has? I don't have him pulled up to look at it.
It's basically everyone in the Midwest. So Louisville, Ohio State, Purdue, Indiana, those are kind of the main group. And then you're going to just see a lot more big time programs jump into, I would think, over the next month or two.
Jaden Washington is more than a litmus test for the reasons I gave, though. He's He checks a lot of boxes. The Northern Indiana part, he's an elite player. He's probably the best player in the state of Indiana now. The best available player in the state of Indiana. If that is the case and Mike Woodson gets him, that alleviates the loss of Trey Kaufman from an optics standpoint to me, because the only reason Indiana did not get Trey Kaufman is because Archie Miller was here. And he had no direction for Trey Kaufman's game. He had no direction of development for him. That's a fact. And that, if you want to bear that out, just go talk to Trace Jackson Davis. But that's the only reason Indiana lost Trey Kaufman. So it's not about Purdue. That was about Archie Miller. So I'm not concerned about – Indiana fans should not be concerned in that regard. I think that Mike Woodson will end up getting Jaden Washington, because where does Jaden Washington want to be?
I mean,
in the NBA.
Yeah, that's
how many guys from Purdue are in the NBA? Ask you seriously. How many players right now? I can tell you how many from Indiana right now. There's like 9. And Indiana has not been well for the last long time, but they still produce the upper level talent. Had a blunt, not too much in the last 4 years, but Purdue does not. And they've not had that problem. They have not had coaching continuity problems, but they don't produce NBA talent on a whole. So I think that is huge to me.
Yep, and I think that's why Indiana's gonna have a seat at the table, no matter how long this one goes. Just due to Mike Woodson's resume, and obviously I think you're gonna see the uptick in the IU tradition and the feeling of playing at IU again start to weigh a lot more and pull a lot more than it did over the past 4 or 5 years.
I'm trying to think, how many current players do they even have? Two players in the entire NBA right now. No. Oh, yes. Carson Edwards. Is he on the Celtics roster? And Etwan Moore with the Suns?
Yeah.
Wow. 2 to 9. Who's been better over the last 15 years? Which program has been better over the last 15 years? I think that's Purdue, right?
Yep.
But this is not even close. This is ridiculous, so unskewed. So if a kid wants to go to the NBA, Purdue is not the answer. That's not the route. Just saying. But if you want to compete in the conference, boil her up, baby. But yeah, just curious on how that works out. That's how do you not? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm wondering, how do they not or avoid that? That's got to be a question. I mean, those are hard fact numbers there, man, bearing out over a long period of time. And that's not like that they just lost a bunch of guys out of the NBA. They just don't produce that talent. It's a nice college basketball program.
Yeah,
How's
I
that?
mean that's they build a good college basketball program, and it just depends for each recruit if that's what they want, or if they want to end up obviously getting to the NBA. It's all
He is not. Are you kidding me? Jordan Bohannon is getting another year of eligibility.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's using the.
He's
the senior
46
waiver.
years old. Are you kidding me? Is this going to be? What is he, an 8-year veteran now?
Yeah, I think this is. It's definitely year 6.
7?
It's year 6 or 7. Yeah.
This is see. I think personally, I've got to go back. I know he had injuries. What was his deal?
He had hip injury that kept him out for a while, for at least a full season. 2 years ago.
Pat Graham lost 2 seasons almost. I mean, this is ridiculous. Especially, yeah, he always hits the shots. Hey, man, we got to hit a break. I know you probably got to go as well, but we'll be connecting here in a bit.
Yep, always good.
Or if you can stick around, you're welcome to stick around.
I do have to run, but we will.
Well, hurry up and run. We got to run too. We got to hit a break.
Yeah,
We'll chat
touch
soon,
base.
brother. We got more
All
to
right.
get to.
Talk soon.
Thanks, brother. Hey, we've got more to get to. We'll get to it as soon as we come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Cheryl Sizemore. If you're looking for a home, make sure you turn to Cheryl Sizemore. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Thinking about retirement? Make sure my
That's nuts.
Did you get a hold of Matt Taylor? Or you could always try Martha the Mop Lady. You didn't do that yesterday either.
He did not respond. Yeah. I like to do that for like overtime, not real radio. It just that's kind of a line crossing a fan line there. You know what I mean?
Isn't it kind of the same thing as using Chronic?
Chronic's a little more established. Chronic does a podcast with the Star, Indianapolis Star.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Freaking Jordan Bohannon. That's absolutely goddamn nuts.
Wasn't there's another player, you've mentioned this before, who's using their 7th year of eligibility this coming year. I don't know if it's a
Maybe
Big Ten player or not.
Allie Patberg from Indiana. But that's girls.
So that's not who I'm thinking of. Someone named Jalen West, but I don't think that's not who I'm remembering. It's somebody who had a familiar name. Like they may have started off at a Big Ten school. Who knows? And I do have that Yeagley. It's a short minute and a half I clipped off about Victor Becerra, if you do want to use that.
Absolutely. Man, I hate not being prepared to go alone. That's the worst in the world. Finding out 2 minutes before, my mind is screwed.
If you need me to jump on, let me know.
Well, that's why I started talking to you earlier.
I was doing the clip earlier.
Oh, I know.
All right, we're coming back.
LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It is Friday, TGIF. Hope everybody is ready for the weekend. What do you have planned? There is tons to do. Unfortunately for me, it's all in different directions, all at the same time. But don't complain, because last year, this time, we were complaining about not having any place to go. Now we got to make up for it and go to all those places at the same daggone time. Didn't plan on that. But I still can't get over the Jordan Bohannon thing, man. Unbelievable. Coming back for like a 6th or 7th year. I think Allie Patberg, though, for Indiana women's team has kind of the same situation. So there's that, which is nice. Boom. Matt overguarded Bohannon. That's how long Bohannon has been playing. That's funny. Not too far off, though. Kind of close. We'll see. What are your plans this weekend? Are you going out? It's Mother's Day. Don't forget your mom. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there. on Sunday. I think it's going to be a rainy day, so somebody's going to have to make mom dinner. Get to sit in and watch. Unfortunately, I wish NCAA soccer, they need to schedule these games better. They need to, with all the television availability, why is it so difficult to get things like NCAA tournament soccer to watch? Soccer, I know, is still, that's the NCAA tournament is something people would watch. I know it is on, but it's difficult to get to. So that's a little aggravating. But of course, it only matters to those who either are soccer fans or have a team that they are watching, of course. So there's that. What are your plans? What are you going to do? What are you looking for this weekend? What are you upset about? It's Free Friday, man. It's a free rolling Friday, especially without Riddell here to bounce off of. But John, what do you got going this weekend?
Sorry, I had to get my mic hooked up here for a second. But yeah, we're going to be celebrating Mother's Day over at my parents' house, which is not too far down the road here.
Nobody cares about your mother-in-law, though. So we got to find something better to talk about.
Not my mother-in-law, my actual mother's house.
Well, that's nice. That's very nice. But so there's that. But I've got plenty of things to cover. Playing golf won't be one of them. The weather has been horrible. It's just going to be too cold and chilly to do much of anything.
The cicadas are coming. We're not too far off from the cicada invasion.
When does that happen? That's the end of this month, right?
I think like in a week or two. I've been seeing middle of May.
I remember telling my daughter's mom not too long ago was talking about that. And I said, yeah, it's every 17 years. They're like, what? You're crazy. I'm like, yeah, it's like it didn't happen, but every 17 years. And some of them are on every 13 years. And then the 17-year ones, every now and then they'll come early, but it's always 4 years early. I remember it's odd because now this is going to be like, I think if you're me at my age, this will make you bring back childhood memories because you've been around long enough for just one of these.
Yeah, and I don't even remember. I mean, in the general area, there's cicadas around every summer, but not in this mass amount that they're about to be in. That's a kid thing for me. That's going to bring back like kids' memories. That ratcheting up noise every night. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have a balcony that's screened in, but I hope those sliding glass doors are soundproof. I'm about to find out. That would be, man, that would be nuts. But yeah, and for those of us that live in the outside of city, I guess I would say, if you're in the city, I can't imagine it being that bad.
Yeah, and I would say I think Indiana specifically is supposed to be one of the most hard-hit areas of the brood.
Of course it is.
Cicada invasion.
Of course.
Kentucky's going to get a little bit down here too, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as the entirety of Indiana from what I've been looking at.
I am not looking forward to it. But I am looking forward to this weekend, and I am looking forward to just getting out. I'm not looking forward to the driving. I am looking forward to being up at the Rivals camp. That's at Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis. 5 stars up there, man. You talk about some top talent. Oh, I forgot about Yeager. You have that. How long is that clip?
Minute and a half. We can do it right here and then go to break.
Busted. Yep. There's Todd Yeagley from the win yesterday in the NCAA tournament for the men's Hoosier soccer program.
Yeah, I mean, Victor, he made a special pass, and that little sophistication on the timing to get Herb and the weight of the ball is Vic's passing underestimated skill set. Us that we see them every day. He's one of the better passers and just has a great feel. And it wasn't Vic's best day. He did some really good things, but it was a quieter performance. I think they were obviously keen in on him, and but he made that special pass. And Herb, we've been working so hard on that functional finish because it's so dangerous getting in behind. And that's just a pass to goal, and he's been working really hard at it. And we train that a lot. That particular, I wouldn't say movement, but that area of the box that he gets into, and at some point it becomes motor memory. And I think Herb, did exactly what he needed to do. And then, Nick, was dangerous all day getting around the edge. Just got this. I thought his quality of his final pass got a bit better as the game went on, and he made a lot of that second goal. And obviously Maloon was there, I believe, off the post. I think it was Maloon, or was it Wet? I actually can't remember. There was a lot going on, but yeah, it was nice to see a couple of the guys get in the score sheet.
There you go. There's Coach Todd Yeagley talking about yesterday's win over number 19 Marquette to propel the Hoosiers into the third round. We'll talk about that and more when we come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda and Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or Sam's Restaurant, I got to get that. All right.
Is that an ad you got to get cut?
Well, I cut and written. Dude, man, I wish I had another one of room. I want to redo the entire epic studio.
See, Tim Tybalt asked me who my all-time favorite IU
T-Balt, man, T-Balt.
T-Balt.
Do he what?
He asked who my favorite all-time IU player is.
Nobody cares who your favorite all-time IU player is.
Why does nobody care who my favorite all-time IU player is?
Well, because this is not an IU basketball show. What was I just saying I had to do? Damn it. What was it I said I needed to do?
I remember you saying, but it was something you don't say it very often. So I don't.
It was right in this break.
The Psalms. The Psalms thing is what you need.
Psalms. These readers.
Tebow Dose John. I don't understand. Read these comments. Go ahead and bring us back.
Retirement? Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. Thank goodness it is Friday. Jim Coyle with you. Solo today, little John in the producer booth. Other than everybody else joining us on the side here, though. The truth says, send some food and some money too now. To you? How about send some to me? The truth? What's up? Robert's the truth. I don't know what he's talking about there. There's something about it, asking about some camps. the cicadas bring out the copperheads. It's a delicacy for them. Whoa. Timeout. Whoa. That's a bit of information. I guess I'm glad to know, but kind of wish I didn't know, because this is an area that is fraught with copperheads. Yikes. Wow. Not looking forward to that. Man. I guess I'll be using that golf club for something other. Man, because it is a wooded area right here. And there's water. Yikes. Man. Boy, man, Alan, my summers just got changed. That's going to. Did they take care of the. I'm going to have to. Joyce says we need a lizard to take care of those. Man, I'm not a snake fan. It's just when I saw that really took my mind away there for a second. Daggone it. You talked about Indiana adding Mike Stump earlier to the program. We talked with Alec about that. His responsibilities are going to lie more along the lines of recruiting, because recruiting is just, there's so much to do. Evaluation. It's like American Idol now. To get to be in front of those judges, man, those people have been in front of so many other people before they get to that point. And it's whether they make it through that. And this guy weeds them out. But one quick note, he's a UK grad, but I think that maybe that was for grad school or something. I don't know if that was undergraduate, but that's just funny that people are getting all into Twitter about that. But whatever it takes, man. Everybody is from everywhere, especially now the coaching fraternity, man. It is you go all over the place. You get the experience that you can get from where you can get it from. And you bring as much different ideas with you that you can possibly. So there's good that now they got a snake discussion going on. I'm not a big fan. And well, I will agree with you, Tim, on this. Woodrow, Woody getting the Indiana-Kentucky series back going. I think that happens, but I don't think it happens as long as Calipari is there, and especially now. And I could be totally wrong. He may just say, sure, let's do this, because he's on. I think he's on his last legs there anyway, in college ball anyway. But Indiana they're going to regain the stature that they have not enjoyed for quite some time. And that's not what teams like Kentucky or Louisville, they're on the periphery of Indiana, want to see. Because they want to have the best shot possible of getting the best talent possible out of this state. And when Indiana is humming on all 8 cylinders, you land classes like Pat Graham and Greg Graham and Todd Leary and Calbert Cheney and Matt Nover, boom, boom, boom. You get all those great guys. Romeo Langford, Trace Jackson Davis. You would have gotten Trey Kaufman. When Indiana is humming, you get those guys. So Kentucky's and Louisville, they don't want to see Indiana. It makes it more difficult for them to get those guys if Indiana is doing well. And Indiana, not only will they be doing well, they're going to have the culture back. And that is of uber importance. Because that culture has to seep into this back into the grassroots, back into the high schools, back into those gyms. That's got to just flow in there like air. It's not there now. It evaporated. There was a time when a guy like Bob Knight walked into a gym and the gym stood still. Indiana carried that kind of weight. And even after Bob Knight, the weight of Indiana went forward, and it's still there. If you don't believe me, Archie Miller got 3 straight Mr. Basketballs. That's the weight of Indiana. That's not Archie Miller. So now you added a Dane Fife, a Mike Woodson, and some success, it's over. It's back to being not those days. Those days are gone because A, there's no more Bob Knight. B, there's something called the AAU system that is totally changed things. But it's going to be as close as you can get culture-wise across the state, I think, for Indiana and that. Now you're adding the fact that Indiana is trying to build culture in football. Crazy to think about, but very possible because Purdue has been down they're down. Notre Dame is far enough away and not in the Big Ten, not on the schedule, except Indiana plays them like in the year 30 or something. So there's not that competition. They don't recruit against each other, which is weird. Indiana recruits more against Ohio State, more against Michigan, against the other Big Ten schools, even within the state of Indiana, it seems like. But you're not building culture. You've got to rebuild the culture in basketball, but let me tell you, that's not a rebuild. That's Jack in the Beanstalk. As soon as you pour that water on that thing, boom, watch that thing fly up. Those people, the Indiana basketball fandom, they are starving. That will just explode like a wildfire in the desert. If you had trees in the desert. Then women's basketball. Now, they've had success. Are they building a culture? You'd have to say so. I mean, because one, it's Terry Morton that has built that, and it's the Terry Morton culture. And so you've got that going. You already got it in soccer. Baseball, kind of on its way. Way too early to say that. Jeff Mercer's only been here, his third season? Success. Looks like it's heading the right direction. That's a lot of good news, people. We're not talking about winning seasons. We're talking about winning cultures, winning programs. That is gigantic. Look around at most schools. If you have one of those programs that are really successful, that's awesome. If you've got two, you're in a select group. If you've got men's basketball, women's basketball, football, baseball, soccer, women's soccer, that's an athletic juggernaut. Indiana's not. That comes from Ohio State. Indiana's only is a smaller school, one of the smaller schools in the Big Ten. That's not generally where juggernauts come from. They're on the precipice of that. I'm not drinking Kool-Aid or anything like that. I'm just pointing out the facts of what could be very soon. I'm not saying it is, but it is right there for the taking. It starts with Indiana football, though. Indiana football's got to start that. They've got to start it in Iowa City next September. The importance of that win, and I know we're a long ways off, but why not talk about it? The importance of that win is huge. So many reasons. First game of the year, first Big Ten game of the year. It's Iowa, Gary Barta. Coming off a bowl loss. There's five, just bam. You have no momentum off the last season because you lost the bowl game. Tons of questions because of Michael Penix. You're Indiana, so everyone's going to doubt you, although ESPN has you in their top 11. Winning that game will change not only Indiana's fortunes, winning that game will change a lot of people's minds about Indiana football. Yeah, they beat Michigan last year for the first time, but they should have beaten them 2 or 3 times before that in the last couple of years. Yeah, they beat Penn State last year, which Penn State was a way better team than people gave them credit for. But what they remember is Indiana losing to an Ole Miss team, not getting over that hump. The year before that, it was Tennessee. You had the game and you just handed it away. You got to go win the big games. You just got to do it. You want to be a big boy program? You got to do big boy things. Going to Iowa, beating Iowa, that's a big boy thing. And that will start the deal. Because 2 games after that, you've got Cincinnati coming in to Bloomington's Memorial Stadium with a top 10 ranking. And if you went to those first 3 games and 2 of them are against a top 10 team and a top 14 team, hello. You want to talk about pandemonium? Basketball wouldn't even have started yet. And you'd have a football team that is probably ranked 6th or 7th. Can you imagine the fun that'll be? We got to take a break. Whoo! Getting excited about it, though. We'll talk about it more, whatever else you want to talk about when we come back from the golf clubs at Eagle Point Studios.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle.
Maybe getting Matt Taylor on. Send him the link
just in case. Okay.
Yep. I haven't even begun to think about planning these next 3 days. Holy crap. Oh my God, I need a life organizer. I need an executive assistant. I need a lobotomy, a vacation, $1 million.
Is he for sure joining? Because I need to tell Jonathan.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Who's Jonathan?
John, the YouTube guy. I don't know. Do you call him Jonathan or John? The thumbnail guy.
Yeah. I'm texting with damn, he does those that fast. That shows you how easy that must be to do.
Well, he does them while I'm sending him topics during the show. I'm sure it's pretty simple. I'm sure he's done it several times. But
I can't wait till you learn how to do this because this is costing me money, brother.
Does he know that you're only going to use him temporarily?
Well, yeah.
Unless you can find another role for him.
But there's probably always something that he could.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we're coming back.
It's a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you here, as always. Producer John slipping in. Trying to get Matt Taylor on. He's had a busy week, as you can imagine. The draft wrapping up. we were talking about Indiana football in the last segment, and Forrest said he believes that the opening game at Iowa is one of the biggest games in IU football history. It is absolutely one of the biggest games in IU football history. And because there are only a handful of games that you can lay that on, I think. The Rose Bowl, obviously, has to take top tier right now because it's the Rose Bowl. But here in the last couple of years, that has changed a little bit. Does the Holiday Bowl still stay at number 2? First bowl win in team history? Maybe. At the time, I don't know what the feeling was there at the time. But here of late, then you go to the win over back-to-back wins over Ohio State in the 80s and the win over Michigan in 87 to couple with that win. And then there's just big blanks. Penn State, Michigan last year were huge, but I agree for the program getting it going forth. Yes, because of what it can lead to. It can lead to a historic season. Those teams of the Mallory era, which I loved and was here for, great and fun, but those were upper mid-level teams at best. They were not this level of team that we're looking at right now. They are not. Ohio State was not Ohio State. Michigan was not Michigan. Well, Ohio State is more than Ohio State has ever been right now, and Indiana competed them. They went 15 rounds with them toe-to-toe last year. I think we got Matt Taylor going to join us here. So if you let him on in, John. Matthew, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Been a busy week for you, I know, coming off of the draft.
Yeah, it's been we've been sorting through the rubble and sorting everything out and putting pieces together, roster-wise, and trying to figure out who these guys are, trying to figure out where they line up schematically, and figure out who they are as human beings. So it's been fun. It's sort of the, as we've talked about, it's the marquee, it's the cornerstone of the off season with the draft. So it's been fun. Rookie minicamp is this weekend. So off season continues to roll on, and we get closer and closer to the start of the regular season in training camp.
And I know people don't understand, but a lot of times there's only certain things we can talk about, even though we know everything and you know everything. There's certain things, and I'm assuming has signings was paperwork signed? Are you allowed to talk about people?
Yeah, we're allowed to talk about people. We're allowed to, if the draft happens on national TV, we can talk about them coming in. Yeah, I know it's kind of silly with free agency and with the whole Carson Wentz thing. I think that's what you're alluding to. But yeah, with the draft.
No, it's everything. It's like the same with college players. A kid commits to a college, the coach still can't talk about him until they have this signed document in place. And I'm like, Oh God.
No, with the draft, we're all good.
Well, speaking of the draft, the question was tackle, edge rusher. They went with the rusher, obviously, and no tackle, which was a little bit of a surprise. But start with the edge rusher, though. We didn't get to talk about him. We talked about the possibility of where they were going to go, but that's the decision they made, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, with the tackle debate, certainly it's kind of the big water cooler conversation around Colts Nation after the draft. It's funny, in the first round, the elite tackles were off the board by the time the Colts picked. You had guys like Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, who's a Big Ten guy, he's a Northwestern player, Elijah Vera Tucker. All of those guys were off the board by the time the Colts picked. And those guys, after that, there just weren't that many prototypical left tackles left in the draft. And Chris Ballard said after the draft that, hey, if you're going to invest in a tackle with a premium pick, you ought to know what you're getting. And the Colts just didn't have that complete answer on some of the tackles in the draft after those players. And Kwity Paye fell to them in the first round. He was a lot higher on their board than the tackles left in the first round. So that's kind of the answer on that one. Then in the second round, if you look at the second premium pick, if you will, the Colts at 54 in round 2, they were really, really high on Dayo Adangbo. He was the defensive end / defensive tackle hybrid player out of Vanderbilt. They were much higher on him than some of the other tackles left in the draft. And in fact, they were worried that Dio might not be available when they picked at 54, despite the fact that I think there was a run on tackles in the second round in front of the Colts. I think there were 5 tackles picked in front of the Colts in the 15 picks in front of them. So just like I thought tackle wasn't something the Colts were going to force in the draft just because they had a need there, and they still have other options with Sam Tevy, Julian Davenport, Will Holden. They drafted Will Fries in the 7th round out of Penn State. He played guard and tackle in the Big Ten. He's got 40 starts under his career. Free agency is still ongoing. And the thing is, again, you had to be skeptical about the number of true left tackles in the draft class, pointing to the lack of prototypical traits at that position. And I think it's really hard. I thought it was going to be really hard for the Colts to come home in this offseason with all the different, have answers to all the different questions they had. This offseason they had to replace a franchise quarterback, a franchise left tackle, and they had to get young and they had to get dynamic at pass rusher. So that's a really difficult thing to do in one offseason when you have to give up a 3rd round pick to get the quarterback and you only have 6 picks. There's only so many things you can do. You have to be realistic about it. So it's one of those things where the Colts did the best they could. They got really impactful players on defense. That's something they needed to do, especially on the defensive line. When you look at that position, that's the one thing that needs to happen in order for the defense to go from good to elite. They need consistent pass rush on the outside to help out DeForest Buckner. If they can get that, they can really do something special on the defensive side of the ball where quarterbacks have nowhere to go but just step up in the pocket and get swallowed up. But the fact that, last year they didn't have consistent pressure off the edge, and that's why they were sort of vulnerable at times, especially against the playoff teams, the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. The next step is to compete with those elite teams. Last year they were 1-4 against teams in the AFC that went to the playoffs. There's no question what they need to do to take that next step. It's compete and beat the big boys.
Yeah, you talked about how they went, the strategy. You can try to be too cute and make up for not try to do too much and just really screw the whole thing up.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you can pick a tackle in the draft just for the sake of picking one because everybody says you need one. But, if you do that, you get it wrong. Guess what? You pass up on exactly. You pass up on bringing in guys like Pay and Adingbo to help out another premium position. And guess what? In 2-3 years, you're going to be drafting left tackle again because that guy's going to be out of the league, or you're going to have to move on from him, or it's just not working out. So you're going to have to draft that position again. So every year you're going to have needs, but the problem for the Colts, and I use the word problem, it's more like a dilemma. The dilemma for the Colts this year was they needed quarterback, they needed pass rusher, and they needed left tackle. It's very rare in one off season to need that much premium help to your football team all at once.
Chris asked on the Andy Moore Honda hotline on YouTube, Deo, I'll talk about Adeo. How you say his name? Adingbo?
Dio Adingbo.
Dio Adingbo. That's close. Aren't you worried about his recent injury, surgery in January?
I mean, the Colts aren't. The Colts aren't at all. The fact that they drafted him where they did, knowing it's going to be a little bit of time for him to get on the field, speaks to just how much they loved him. He's got an Achilles injury, preparing for the Senior Bowl back in January. The Colts said that they would have considered drafting him in the 1st round had it not been for the injury. So you're getting, and it's kind of like the Moneyball philosophy in baseball, the Billy Bean thing where you draft on value. This is unbelievable value. So the injury certainly adds a little bit of a wrinkle into the selection, and I don't really have a timetable for his return to the field, and I don't think the Colts do either. But the thing is, like, when you draft for like immediate impact and you draft for need, and you got to have these guys produce 9-10 sacks a year, like, first of all, that's not realistic, and second of all, if you need that, you're not a good football team. And the Colts are a good football team, and they've got some pretty good depth right now along their defensive line. Now, there's no question they need some guys to step up and take that next step, like Kamoko Toure and Ben Banogu, Al-Qadim Mohammed. They signed Isaac Rochelle in free agency from the Chargers. They need some of these young rotational players to be more than they have been in the past. They're banking on that. But they needed to go younger. They needed to get more dynamic on the defensive line in this draft. That's what they did with Kwity Paye and Dayo Odengbo. Danico Autry's gone. Justin Houston's gone in free agency. I think you just kind of had to make a decision. They had to make a decision. Are we going to continue to be, sort of the team that signs the veteran guy that has 2 to 3, 4 good years left, or do we really make a hard investment on bringing in guys that have superior athletic traits, and we mold these guys and we invest our time in developing them and turn them into the next, Robert Mathis or Dwight Freeney. So hopefully that's what happens with these two guys. So the Colts had to make a call. They went younger, and we'll see what happens. But yes, they're going to play a big role next year. But I think for the time being, before they turn into hopefully, superstars, they need the collective group along the defensive line, especially on the edge, on the outside with the pass rushers, Toure, Banogu, Isaac Rochelle. They need those guys to collectively step up and get you about 3 to 4 sacks per game, which is what did not happen last season.
Me in the radio side of things real quick, then I've just got 1 or 2 more questions and we'll get you out of here. But for those listening to us on radio, cannot thank you enough as always. We appreciate you guys. Go out, do something nice for somebody. Continue to wear your mask. And until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Clear.
Funny how you do that stuff. Matt, let's see. Looking at Indiana's football schedule next year. The Colts schedule's not out, unfortunately, but they've got Cincinnati at home on September 18th and Ohio State on October 23rd. It's probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, exactly a month apart. So that'll be, I don't know what the Colts schedule is a bit. I hope that they have home games. What is your schedule like the Saturdays before a home game? Yeah. Are you able to come to Bloomington?
It's funny. The schedule's coming out for the Colts next Wednesday. I think that's the 12th.
The 12th, yes.
That's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Yes, so that's when we're going to find out the when and where. We know the where. We just don't know
the day before you are going to be on. How perfect.
Yeah. So
I can't believe it wasn't Friday.
it's the Saturdays before home games are the only days off that I get during the season. And really, you can't even really qualify it, in my opinion, as a true day off.
Trust me, I know what you mean.
It last year was such a anomaly because of the pandemic. There was so much. There's roster movement basically every Saturday during an NFL season, but last year, especially during the pandemic, with guys all of a sudden with the COVID stuff, and there were roster exemptions, and you could bring guys up off the practice squad more than what you were allowed to. I mean, it was like Saturday was like a jigsaw puzzle trying to figure out what the roster was going to look like for the next day with all the movement. So it was almost like, I had to budget out half of the day at least to figure out who's out, who's in, which guys are injured, who's a late scratch because of COVID. It was really kind of hard to negotiate. But yeah, I mean, in a normal year, which hopefully next year is, there's going to be a little bit of that. And you always have that sort of, from a Colts perspective, they have a walkthrough on Saturday. I don't have to go to that. In fact, I'm not allowed to go to that. But that's when all of their roster moves come out and their final injury report comes out. And so I'll kind of mess with that. It's kind of like late morning around lunchtime. But if it's not too significant, and I know it's not going to be too significant, I kind of plan ahead. Those are the days where I can kind of maybe get out, do something with the family. As you said, go down, watch an IU game if it makes sense. If the Hoosiers are playing on a Saturday at home before a Colts home game, those are really the only time that I can get out and watch some college football in person.
That's good to know. Information for me to, I don't have off days. What I call them is they're NSTWs, not scheduled to work.
Exactly. I can definitely jive with that. I've got a lot of NSTWs, but
that's
unfortunately the NSTWs turn into W's where you are working.
Yeah, that's why it's scheduled. It's not scheduled to work. A little inflection there. Was daggone it? Something definitely wanted to ask. Oh yeah, the Rivals is having one of their national camps this weekend in Indianapolis at Ben Davis High School. Tons of talent there, all 5-star, all talent there. Does anyone go out there to watch those guys? Because I know they're in high school, but how much pre-scouting does teams do like that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm sure they're aware of it. I don't know the rules on that. I don't know if the scouts are allowed to be involved that early. I do know, it was funny. The Colts picked up a handful of guys on day 3 of the draft, around 6 and 7 that are pretty interesting. Guys like Sam Ellinger, he's the quarterback out of Texas. They picked up Will Fries out of Penn State. When you're drafting that late, you're not going to bring in the next Jerry Rice. You're probably you're drafting for traits. You're drafting for upside, and maybe you get a steal or a diamond in the rough. And so to do that, the Colts sort of target the guys that they like, that they're really high on, that they think could be steals late in the draft. And so they'll try and dig. And what you have to do is you have to have all these things match up. You have to have play on the field. You have to have character. You have to be a good guy. You have to have work ethic and all that stuff. So to find the answer on those things, the Colts will, they'll go all the way back to a kid's high school coach. They'll call the high school that he went to and talk to him and talk to maybe former teammates. It's funny, like Ellinger was drafted in the 6th round, and the Colts drafted a kid, Kylan Granson, in the 4th round. He's a tight end out of SMU. And weirdly enough, they went to the same high school. They were high school teammates in Austin, Texas. And now, what are the odds they get drafted in the NFL by the same team the same year? But it's funny. I'm sure the Colts did their homework on both guys. And during the draft process, they probably asked Granson, hey, what do you think of this Ellinger kid? You knew him back when you were, 16, 17. So they do their homework. They do their due diligence on all of that. And they go that deep because if, you only have 6 picks a year or 7 this year for the Colts by trading back. So, they're huge investments. And so you ought to know what you're getting or get the best picture as possible on what you're getting. And so, like the Colts, they dig now. They're like investigative reporters, and they want to know the full answer on guys as much as possible. So they'll go back and do their homework and talk to as many people as possible.
You mean so they won't be signing the guy that went out and punched the referee in the high school game or drop kicked that referee in the high school game last year?
There would be a red flag on that. They would need to know the story. They would need to know what the buildup was. No doubt. Yeah.
What's the backstory on this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. You spoke of speaking of Austin, Texas, not Erlinger. Were you talking about Sam?
Sam, yeah, the quarterback.
Unfortunately, his brother was found passed away yesterday.
Correct.
Sad news that I just saw this morning. It was a sophomore, I think, at Texas.
Yeah. He was on the football team in the past. I don't think he had played the last couple of years, and I'm not privy to that situation. But regardless, it's just horrific. And
I don't think there was not any early reports that there anything unnatural had happened, but just always just horribly sad when you hear something like that. But as we continue the weekend, so now you going for what do you got going what are your plans the rest of the week? What do you get to do now?
Well, this weekend
is this an NSTW?
Today is not there's a couple of NSTF or what'd you call them, not scheduled to work. So there's a couple of those next week. The rest of the month there's a handful sprinkled in. But yeah, this weekend is rookie mini camp. So there's actually availability for the rookies coming up in a handful of minutes they'll have to hop on. Then it's funny, the schedule's coming out just when you think the NFL is going to slow down, like boom, here's a schedule next week, right? Then after that, it's going to be OTAs are going to start in late May, and then it's mini camps in June, and then really the only true break the NFL has on the schedule is mid-June to late July for the start of training camp. Other than that, it's NFL is on the it's top of mind on most fans. They do a good job of marketing itself, spreading out their events to make sure the NFL stays on top of the news cycle. Like on the bottom line, that scroll on ESPN, the NFL really never disappears. And we always say, if you're not making news between mid-June and late July, that's a good thing, because if you are, it means you're in trouble, or a free agent has gone wrong, or something like that. It's all negative if you're on the scroll on NFL in the summer months. So that is truly the only time where I can kind of get away a little bit, detach. But even that said, it's all planning and organizing for the upcoming season when you start playing preseason games. So you're talking about 90-man rosters. And it was funny, I started doing the Colts stuff the other day, planning for the preseason games, getting all my notes organized. There are 13 wide receivers now. There are 8 tight ends and 7 running backs, plus the guys, playing quarterback. So there's a zillion guys that can touch the ball. And so there's a lot of memorizing and knowing who guys are going forward for the start of the preseason schedule.
It's a lot of stuff, man. We'll just have to start talking about funner things the rest of the summer as we get there. Fun things to do. What is the next non-work thing you're doing?
Man,
besides holding that beautiful baby.
Yeah, it's day by day around here. I don't know. My wife just tells me what we're doing. I say, okay. I mean, that's really about it. I help her out. I fall in line with the commander in chief, and I try to be a good soldier. That's really about it.
That's all you can do, man. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you. Look forward to talking next week about all that new interesting information. See what the schedule and
the schedule's going to be good.
Well, we'll know. And the reason I was asking about Saturdays, because I gave those dates, I think, for those 2 IU games for Cincinnati, and now I had the schedule pulled up, but whatever they were. One was in September 18th, and the Buckeyes come in on October 23rd. Those are the 2 biggest home games Indiana has. But we're going to do something special, man. I'm thinking George Leach and his Ooey barbecue. He's going to come up from Charlotte. Former IU basketball player, and Jeff Newton is with him. So we're going to plan some fun times, man, because there's going to be fans in the stands.
Let me know. I'm in. Like, if I can make it, I'll swing by and I'll talk Jeff Newton's ear off. He's one of my favorites, man. Absolutely. I would love to do
it. That'll be fun. Yeah, we'll absolutely do it. We'll have a blast doing it, man. So, but look forward to it. Have a great weekend, and just go have fun with the family.
I appreciate it, man. You too. Thanks as always for having me on.
We appreciate you, Matt Taylor. Brought to you by Sam's Restaurants, and we'll be. I know that's going to wrap it up for us, Matt. Thank you, brother, and that's going to wrap it up for the rest of us. I cannot thank you guys enough. Without you, there's nothing. So I hope you go out and have a great weekend, safe weekend. Continue to wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. And I've got plenty of stuff to go do. We'll be back on Monday to talk about it all, whether it's the football camps, the basketball all-star games. So much going on. But you guys are the center of what we do. So thank you so much. Go out and have fun. And until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.